Welcome to Digital Nation, our weekly shiny showcase of the most memorable reports, features and stories from local TV stations across the UK. This week, the strange allure of subterranean wakeboarding in Sheffield. The little girl who's stolen the boss's heart. And the secrets behind the Highland sport of tossing logs. And don't forget to tell us what you think. Get in touch on Twitter using the hashtag #DigitalNation. First up, you might think making friends with a robot sounds like a thing of the future, but as far as we know, Bristol hasn't disrupted the space-time continuum just yet. But it has given people the chance to get up close and personal with our mechanical cousins and experience a virtual reality that could shape our lives in years to come.
Seeing the world through different eyes, a robot's to be exact, as Bristol robotic artists and designers come together with the University of Bath to see how people interact with someone using a robotic avatar.
The project that we're involved in is considering a future of humans and robots in public spaces, and we're exploring the use of teleoperation to allow people to be and interact in a public space, even though they're not there in person.
It's a real hub of technology in here. You can see behind me someone's using a virtual reality set on their head to be able to see through the eyes of the robot on the other side of the curtain. Meanwhile, puppeteers are in the corner just there, mimicking her movements to make the interaction seem more lifelike. It's really quite unique.
We're really trying to communicate. Out there right now is a 3-year-old child. So we have to be demonstrative but not frightening. So we're doing things that watching Lizzie, who's performing the character, the voice. I'm just trying to be a little bit alive without being too much, to be engaging and to be attractive and not to hurt anybody. And so this is really quite a huge step.
Altogether, this adds up to something typically unique for our city.
Well, Bristol's an incredible place because it has this incredible history with stop-motion animation, live puppetry, special effects, but it also has this industry of robotics, and it's got the Bristol Robotics Lab, which is one of the biggest robotics labs in the world. And so bringing the world of robotics and the world of puppetry together makes a lot of sense. Robotics is starting to enter our everyday life. These machines are coming out of their cages in factories and starting to be in our social and public spaces.
We normally think of robots as cold and precise beings, but the addition of a human touch seems to be encouraging people of all ages to come and say hello.
Now, wakeboarding might seem like a pretty extreme sport to you and I, but how about wakeboarding underground in Victorian drains? Believe it or not, that's what's been going on beneath the city of Sheffield, where some adventurous filmmakers have made a movie about it.
So Lowline is basically a wakeboarding film that we've made under the city of Sheffield. So we just wanted to show different things that were possible within a city. It's something a bit different, something you haven't seen before. So we wanted to do an adventure sport in a completely random location. Ed, our director, has one of those kind of amazing minds where we knew we wanted to do something different, something exciting. And Ed had heard about these under the ground storm systems, they're Victorian storm drains. He went down there with the wakeboarders and said, is this actually going to be possible? And they straight away got on board, were really excited, and so yeah, kind of game from there. It was a logistical nightmare. A few waders went around because I thought when we first went down there it was only going to be maybe up to knee height, thigh height. No, it was up to your chest. And so all the cameramen and everyone were really stuck in. Cameras were being held over the tops of head. We did have a few slight accidents where the cameramen sort of sacrificed themselves falling and holding the camera over their head. But no, it was good fun. It was hard work, but it was good fun. I think a lot of people thought we were insane, including myself. Especially when I went down for the first sort of location scout myself, I didn't go down initially. I didn't think people thought it'd be possible as well because you can't get a boat down there. You can't get a jet ski down there, and we actually had to float a winch pretty far down in order for it to work. So yeah, most people were shocked, I think, when we told them what we were going to do. For myself personally, first reaction was just in awe because it's so stunning down there. My second reaction was I tripped over and put my hand on the wall where there was tons of spiders, and then I freaked out. Then a bat flew past, and so I was like, whoa. But literally, the longer I walked down it and you saw how stunning it was, how incredible it was, I just couldn't wait to start filming because I knew it was going to be absolutely amazing as a location.
Staying with the silver screen, and London is known as the focal point for film premieres and art house movies. So, somewhat surprisingly, in the heart of London, one borough found itself without a cinema. Now a group of passionate volunteers is aiming to change that.
This is the entrance to the cinema. You come in, we've got a ticket booth. Lewisham was one of only 2 boroughs in London that had no cinema of any kind, a large commercial cinema or a small art house cinema, anything like that. And what that meant was that access to cinema for most people living around here was unaffordable. At the same time, there are certain kinds of films that are just very hard to see anywhere. So we wanted to show things that are a bit more art house. That was very important to us.
It's the community, it's the volunteers who curate the films. They come up with the ideas, they create the seasons, and they reflect our tastes and hopefully the tastes of our audience here. And that's what's very special about it. And we teach people what to do. We take them through the steps. No, there's no leader. We're a flat hierarchical structure. We have meetings every Sunday. It's a bit like going to church for some of us. And there are extra meetings throughout the week too, because this is running a business actually. That's what it is. But we're all volunteers and we're all learning on the job.
The cinema isn't the building, it's the community. That was the point from day one. And I feel like we've been very successful in that. And volunteering in the cinema has that effect for people, that they come together for a shared purpose, which is a love of film, and they discover that they have more in common with people around them than they perhaps realised. I've certainly felt that.
To Lancashire now, where we meet a man who's defying his doctor's prognosis. Hassan Ahmed has cerebral palsy and was told he'd never walk unaided. But now, thanks to a lot of hard work and the support of his dedicated coach, he can get about without assistance and even wants to take to the football field.
Hassan has cerebral palsy, which affects all 4 limbs. The signals from his brain are weak, meaning he previously couldn't walk at all.
Basically, the doctors told me, Hassan, if you want to stay on the walking frame, then you need to go to a gym, you need to get active, you need to get these muscles working. And then I came up to the gym, and then Sheikh learned about my condition, about what it affects, which body part it affects, and how he can help me with my condition so I can be independent. So this has enabled me to walk, basically.
I got him to the gym, asked him if he could walk. He told me he could not walk. He's never walked before, and he needed his frame all the time. So I said to Hassan, I said, right, okay, listen, I'm going to train you, but I'm going to make you a promise here. I'm going to make sure that you walk without that frame. And he was like, no, that won't happen. I said, Hassan, I promise you, you'll walk without your frame, you'll get on the treadmill, and I'm also going to promise you that you'll be playing football one day. He goes, no way. And that's how, the whole thing started with Hassan.
It took a long time and a lot of work on confidence and coordination, but finally Hassan took his first steps unaided.
For the family, it's very difficult for that person to go out and do things for himself, and I don't need somebody with me like a support worker or a PA. I can do a lot myself, I can speak for myself, and it's great.
Much more still to come, but first I vote it's time for Creative Kingdom.
So, which part of the country gave the UK its first female MP? No, not there. They elected one in 1918, but she didn't take the seat. No, not there. Although they gave women who owned property the right to vote in the local elections of 1881. Not there either. Although they allowed all women the right to vote in local elections in 1882. No, it wasn't them either. Getting warmer still. There. Plymouth Sutton, who voted in Nancy Astor in a by-election in 1919, just 1 year after women over 30 won the right to vote and stand for Parliament. There's still a way to go, but there are now over 190 female MPs, and it all started in the Southwest. Proof once again that when it comes to creativity, innovation, and putting sisters and daughters in the mother of parliaments, it's Plymouth Mint!
Now I've got something for you that really will chase away the blues. When you take your young daughter to a Bruce Springsteen concert, you don't expect her to end up on stage, steal the show, become a viral sensation, and be given the musician's harmonica. If she keeps this up, she'll be showing Bruce who's the boss.
Now back home in Cambridge, Hope has been practicing on the precious gift given to her by legendary singer The Boss. Hope's mum had taken her along to a Bruce Springsteen concert, not expecting that she'd become a central part of the act.
He was singing Promised Land, and during that she was on another chap's shoulders and she was waving and he was waving, and their eyes met literally from a podium just a bit further away, and he carried on waving and she waved at him, and then he just walked around as soon as that ended and handed her the harmonica, which was just incredible. And at that point the crowd kind of erupted around us. I just thought, well, that's it, there's no way he's going to sing Waiting on a Sunny Day after that.
But he did, and the video taken by a member of the audience has gone viral across the world.
Sure enough, he came down and sang it for a while in front of her, and and the rest has now been seen by probably about 40 million people, 50 million people maybe worldwide on YouTube.
Waiting on a sunny day, gonna chase the clouds away. Waiting on a sunny day.
She was gazing at him, he was gazing at her. It was a very sweet moment. And also a couple of films were made by people who were standing very, very close. And again, maybe that doesn't normally happen.
Waiting on a sunny day, gonna chase the clouds away. Waiting on a sunny day.
And with that, we're at the end of part 1. Can you guess what that means? Yep, it's quiz time. Which city was nicknamed Copperopolis after its important role in the production of the metal? Was it A, York, B, Swansea, or C, Aberdeen? We'll find out after the break. Loving local? Then let us know what you think by using the hashtag #DigitalNation. Welcome back to Digital Nation. Before the break, we asked you which city was nicknamed Copperopolis after its important role in the production of the metal. And the answer is B, Swansea. In the late 19th century, the Welsh city was responsible for producing up to 90% of the world's copper. Let's pop to Liverpool now, where one of legendary singer-songwriter David Bowie's most treasured guitars will be on display in the Beatles Story Museum for the next 3 years. The unique sounding instrument highlights the close relationship between Bowie and Beatle John Lennon.
Bowie's Hagstrom 12-string guitar has took pride of place in the Beatles Story at the Albert Dock. The guitar, which has been loaned from its current owner, has never been seen before on public display and will sit next to a piano owned by John Lennon.
So you think of a Bowie song, Space Oddity, The Man Who Sold the World, all the stuff on Ziggy Stardust, pretty much composed on that guitar. He performed with it too, up to about 1972. Then it was retired and very much became his principal songwriting guitar. David Bowie was very big mates with John Lennon. In the early 70s in New York, they famously collaborated. They collaborated on the song Fame, which was David Bowie's first #1 in the USA. But they worked on that together with the guitarist Carlos Alomar. And the piano that's to my right is the piano that John always used in New York. It's got a jangly choral type effect. So if you're playing on a 6-string, it just wouldn't sound the same. And how do I describe it? I just tell people, download Space Oddity, have a listen, and that's the sound from that guitar.
And nearby there's also a never-seen-before collection of pictures which feature David Bowie. The artefacts have been brought together to illustrate how the pair became close friends following John's departure from the Beatles.
So it's a fitting tribute that here in the Beatles Story, we've got John Lennon's piano from New York and David Bowie's guitar side by side.
The guitar will be on display at the Beatles Story for the next 3 years. It'll be a place where visitors can reflect on the two music icons who were taken tragically too young.
down to the Solent area now, where a group of school children got the surprise of their lives with a celebrity visit. The pupils at a Highland Island primary school won an online geography competition, and as a prize for all their hard work, TV wildlife presenter Steve Baxshall went to meet them.
It was just an ordinary morning for the children of Menjum Junior School. Hard at work indoors, they had no idea who was turning up.
Over the last few months, Ordnance Survey have been running their Digi-mapping competition, where kids can go out and take photos of local wildlife and place it on a map. I'm here at Menjum Junior School to meet the winners, and they have no idea I'm coming.
Hello you all! How you doing?
The whole idea was to get the youngsters enthused about geography and nature in the modern age.
That is my real big dream, is to make the children love geography as much as I do, and you know, it has a bit of a reputation for being a bit of a stiff subject. Obviously, being a bit younger and a bit more enthusiastic, I've tried to vamp it up a bit, and the competition was perfect because, you know, the fact that they've got an incentive to do it, it's a cool new programme, but also, you know, to have Steve at the end of it.
I mean, it stood out a mile over all of the other entries. I guess, you know, they are very lucky in that here in Highland Island, it's a beautiful place, and there's so much potential here. And having met the kids this morning and spent some time wandering around with them, they're a really interested group of young people. They clearly have very good teachers. They have a great school here, and they have a fascination for wildlife, which means that I'm very glad that I did choose this place, because it's been worthwhile.
As well as getting to meet Steve, 30 lucky pupils were also treated to a nature walk around their school.
Should we have a look?
Yeah, and it's quite strange. And they look like tunnels. Yeah. We had to take photos of nature on Hailing, and then at lunchtime we put them on Digimaps and then sent them into the competition.
And when did you find out that you'd won the competition?
Just this morning.
Yeah. And what was your reaction when you walked into your classroom?
It was crazy. I didn't believe that.
I kind of cried.
Yeah, we wanted to all cry.
A bit shocking, because you'd never think that we were.
Yeah, like we're not even.
Like
you can barely see us on the map.
People, out of thousands of schools, and we were the winners.
I grew up on the Surrey Heath, so a lot of the wildlife that I had there as a child, you have here, and it is pretty much the most exciting you'll find in the whole of the UK. You know, going out looking for grass snakes and adders and lizards here is the best you can possibly get in the whole country. Adventure begins at home. Adventure begins in your back garden. It begins down your local park. And, you know, here in the Solent area, you have so many of those resources on your doorstep, so get out and use them.
And thankfully, none of Steve's deadly creatures were lurking in the bushes. Just excited children and, of course, teachers.
They say an apple a day keeps the doctor away, but that's probably no consolation if it's your apple tree that's sick. In Nottinghamshire, the original 200-year-old Bramley apple tree is dying. A fatal fungus is sapping its strength, and experts believe it won't live much longer.
Standing tall in a secret Southwell garden is a piece of Nottinghamshire history. But for how long? The tree that gave the world the Bramley cooking apple has succumbed to an infection, and its current owner, Coulson Howard, has been told it's fatal.
Well, of course we're sad, but it is also a very old tree. You know, it's over 200 years old. We moved in, and that's how I started. So from the age of 6, this has, you know, been part of my life.
The question is, was its current condition avoidable?
It's nature. It's 200 years old, and it's dying, and things die in the end. It's honey fungus, Armillaria amelia is its Latin name if you want it, but it's called a bootlace fungus as well, and it affects how the tree takes up water. The tree could have 2 or 3 more years, but it is going to go. It's sad, but you have to go sometime.
Roger Merriweather is the great-grandson of Henry Merriweather, who in 1856 first discovered the Bramley apple and went on to grow them commercially.
I think the maintenance and looking after of the tree could have been improved. I don't think probably it's had quite the treatment that it should have received, and it would be really nice to try now, even at this late stage, to see if we can work on the tree and encourage some young growth.
When the tree does inevitably die, its delicious legacy will surely last forever.
Moving on, and it's not all bad news for dead trees, as some become invaluable props in the Highland sport of tossing the caber. Over in Belfast, some hardy chaps have been throwing great big bits of timber around for fun. It's one of many things best done in a kilt. So just how far can they lob their log?
The caber's a very, very, very difficult event to learn. It takes years and years of practice. And I've been doing the Highland Games for nearly 30 years, and I still feel as if I'm, still getting the hang of it. It can be anything from 15 feet to 24 feet long. It can weigh anything from 100 pounds to 200 pounds. There is no given length, thickness, weight. Every Highland Games you go to is a different kind of caber. We clasp our hands together. We use a special resin called tacky. It's called petroleum resin. We'll stick our hands together, and then we shimmy down the caber with both hands locked together. We pull on the bottom of the caber and then lift it at the same time, catch it, throw it up into the stomach, and then run like hell. The history dates back 700 years ago, and it was a test of manhood. The army, the soldiers, and when they were bored, say on a Sunday, during the week or whatever, downtime, the captain would say, right son, away up the top of that hill, first up then back is a bottle of whiskey. And it was more a boredom thing. And then over time, the events evolved. Well, already this year I've been to Malaysia, Indonesia, all over Scotland. It takes up my whole life. Back home, I coach kids. I run little Highland Games with kids. And at the end of the day, if the kids aren't there, who's going to be the next generation to fulfil, and go into the boots of likes of myself? Nobody. So to see the kids today throwing the caber, it was lovely.
And finally, things aren't always black and white here on Digital Nation, but somehow it's a different story when it comes to animals. We've had badgers, skunks, zebras, but today it's penguins. These comedy critters are making a splash in Edinburgh Zoo. Well, once they waddle over to the water anyway.
We've got our Gentoo Penguins. They're the main bulk of our colony. We've got 75 adults, and currently we've got 22 chicks. So every day they put on 10% of their body weight. And we've got a couple of our chicks are about 6 weeks old, and they're 3.5 kilograms in weight. And an adult penguin, Gentoo Penguins, about 5 to 7 kilos, so they're well on their way to being an adult penguin. And this is one of the biggest penguin enclosures in the whole of Europe, so we're very proud of it here. It has one of the largest pools, so that allows our penguins to do all their natural behaviours, because they are penguins, they are aquatic species of bird. Well, when the chicks hatch out, they're not bald like a lot of other bird species like parrots are. They do have their little coats on. As they grow up, within 3-month-olds, their down feathers will fall off and they'll go through their first molt. But here at the zoo, we take the chicks away when they're ready, when they're actually starting to hand feed from us as well. And we move them into the creche enclosure, basically to be weaned away from mum and dad, to learn how to swim, learn how to hand feed, and just learn to be an adult penguin. We've got a lot of different personalities, so they all look the same to you, but to us, we can tell them all apart. We can even just look at them and know who they are, but they've all got flipper bands on, so we know who's who. A lot of the penguins you'll see sleeping standing up, some with their little heads tucked into their flippers, or some will simply just be sprawled out with their flippers out and their feet sticking out as well. Especially on the nests, they can even sleep facing down the way as well.
And that's it for this week's rundown of the best stories on local TV. If you've enjoyed the show, don't forget you can watch more episodes right now at bbc.co.uk/digitalnation. Or why not check out your local TV station's website. But until next week, from everyone on the team, bye-bye.